being hungry playing Peewee football before I started hustling. And you know what? I was holding a conversation with my cousin a little while ago, family, and he made me think of something. I thought about it one day, and I never really shared this story, but it was something that really motivated me to jump into the street hustle, to actually start trying to make some type of finances for myself because of the situation that my family was in at the moment. And I was playing Pee Wee football, and this was in the sixth grade, or before you can play six or seven. I believe the sixth grade because I started hustling between 12 or 13, was around that age. And I remember playing Pee Wee football one day, and we was playing this game, and my cousin brought it up during the conversation because he was playing on the opposite team. And he was like, "Man, you was fast, man. You was well, with this one game though. I don't know what was going on, bro, but I got a chance to get you in this, and we got a chance to win by 1 point. It was 7-6. You know what I mean?" And he was like, "Man, they end up jumping on me, or jumping, tackling me right before the um, the touchdown. I was probably like literally a yard away, you know what I mean?" And I remember the coach asking me, like, "Man, Joe, what's going on? Normally you be playing harder than this. What's going on?" And I remember looking him in his eyes, family. I never forget this. And I had tears in my eyes, and I looked at this man, and I said, I was hungry, you know. And I remember the man looking at me, man, and I remember him tearing up and said, "Son, don't you ever go through a whole day without eating, especially when we got a game to play. Let me know if you got something going on at home. Let me know." And at that time, my dad was on drugs. My mom was struggling trying to feed us and do whatever she could, and things had got hard, family. You know what I mean? I remember things that got real hard at one time, and I remember they got feeding me and taking me home, and I was so embarrassed of not being able to win that game because I could have. That I never played football in high school. I only played Pee Wee because right after then is when I jumped into the streets and started hustling. Because I was like, man, I got to make sure I had something to provide for myself. I had some money. You know what I mean? It was important to. It was more important for me to do that than it was to be in the streets. I mean, to be on the football field. So that's how I actually stopped playing football and just started hustling because I was hungry, family, and I was like, man, I got to figure out something. And the circumstances in that time, this is around 92, 93 is when I, jumped into the hustling, and we all know that, crack was bad during that era. So, it was real. It was a situation where I was like, man, I got to figure out a way to provide for myself. I got to help my family somehow, my mom somehow, you know what I mean? And whatever it took. And I remember learning how to, sell drugs, you know what I mean? I remember a friend of mine who's dead now, rest in love, to Jamie Frank, coming to me. And he was like, "Man, look what I got, man." And I was like, "Man, what we do with it?" You know what I'm saying? He was like, "Well, this is right here is $20. All these $20 a piece, this and this." And I remember him telling me this, and we were sitting down trying to figure out the number. We was young, man. And it's so ironic how time flies when you're young and don't know what you're doing, family. And I remember actually learning and catching on, and actually started acquiring some money. So that's why I was real young when I learned how to make money. By the time I'm gonna be honest with you, by the time I was 15, I was almost a vet. You know what I mean? I had inquired at that time in Denver. I was riding around in the BMW. You know what I mean? I was, had gold on my fingers. You know what I mean? I was in the streets because I learned how to hustle. And even though that caught me up and ended up having to do 10 years in prison, but I had to move so fast. So the decisions that I made at the time was all based on the conditions that I was living. You know how they say we're a product of our environment. And talking to my cousin made me think about that. So that's why I wanted to share this story, because a lot of times we don't know what someone else is going through. And I remember he was telling me about different situations going on in his life and this and that. And he was like, and I told him, I said, say, man, don't be so down on yourself, man. It's always someone that had a worse story that survived. It's all about perspective. And I remember, after he was telling me about how they won that touchdown, and I told him, I shared that story on why, I wasn't playing, that my tip-top game that night. And he literally remembered. He said, man, I remember, man. And he was like, I didn't know that y'all was going through stuff like that. That's what I'm saying. I was like, bro, when you growing up and you in different households and you got family issues at home, you got, abuse in the family, at that time, I remember my mom having 2 black eyes, and she'll make jokes about it when my auntie and them come over, and she'll be having these big glasses on, and I remember them in there talking, and I guess when you were growing up in the South, man, you just find a humor out of a situation. It really shouldn't even be a laughing situation, but my mom always found a way to smile, you know what I mean? Found a way to keep us going. And it was just a struggle, you know what I mean? The way we grew up is humbling now because I'm here now, working in my mom's house, and knowing that my mom passed in here and she left this inheritance, and even though she's gone, she's still taking care of her family, you know what I mean? So, it provoked tears. I can't tell you that it's not emotional just thinking about it, but I'm humble, you know what I mean? I'm humble for the things I went through, but I know all of that played a big part of who I am today, you know what I mean? So I wanted to share that story because it's other adolescents, juveniles going through things in life, and you might not know how you're gonna make it, But don't allow that situation to allow you to make a decision that can destroy a period of your life. Like I made some decisions that a decade of my life I had to give up. I had to literally become a slave for a decade because of the decisions I made. And now that I think about it, I had a few different red flags, but I didn't have no support. And support is a big thing, man. I didn't have that good support, when your mom is not stable because she's trying to maintain, and so she couldn't be there all the time. She got my little sister, she's trying to raise her, and I'm buck wild, you know what I mean? So now I sit back and think about these things, man, and it's just humbling, family. To be able to make it, to be able to, share my story, because, man, if it wasn't for welding, family, you know what I mean? If it wasn't for my mom coming down on visitation one day and saying, so, what are you going to do after 10 years incarceration? I've been watching these commercials about welding, they make a lot of money, man. You know what I'm saying? My mom was boosting me up, encouraging me, and look at me now, 20 years later. So anything can happen, family, but the process is you don't have to go through something just because you don't know. You can learn from someone else's mistakes. You can learn from someone else's misfortune. And it's all about the perspective, the way you look at a situation, because you can look at it and feel like you got no hope. You don't know how you're going to make it. You don't know how you're going to see yourself in a better situation. But you have to make a decision that you're going to make it through that. And that's the cool thing about it, man. I remember my aunt saying one time, we coming out of problem, we're going into one, or we in one. And that's just the cycle of life, family. We're going to always have something that we're going to be surviving. We're going to celebrate. We're going to go through a little pain. We're going to survive. We're going to celebrate. We're going to go through a little pain. That's just the process of things, you know what I mean? But I am humbled to know that even though I made that decision and I had to go through that time, it was almost what I needed. You know what I mean? I really felt like it saved me, because if I didn't go through time, I could have probably got killed in the streets. You know what I mean? So it was one of those situations where I really believe, it saved me. You know what I mean? And to this day, I'm able to not only have a trade, but I also teach others to learn welding and obtain a trade and to use it as a business or as a career. and make products, you know what I mean? And I have something that I can leave my grandkids, you know what I mean? So it's about the information, the education that you can pass on from your experiences. So I'm humbled to know that that adolescent, that juvenile that was hungry playing football that night on the green team, you know what I mean? Couldn't score the touchdown because I was weak. Um, Now, situations have changed, but it was those situations that made me. Those situations made me make some decisions that I probably wouldn't have made. But we survived. So I'm humble, to say that I went through that, but I feel like we all got our stories, family. You know what I mean? We all got something that we went through that we had to survive, and life is what it is. You know what I mean? So I'm just humbled to be able to survive that situation. So if anyone else going through something, man, no matter what you're going through, weigh out all your options. You know what I mean? Don't be so hasty to make a quick decision that might cost you a long period of your life, or it might cost you your life period. But I can say that being hungry, being hungry can be a good thing. It can help you in both ways. So it's all about the decision and the perspective you look at. But being hungry, what motivates me to be independent. Being hungry, what motivates me to come up with products and come up with ways I can be able to help others educate themselves. Like being hungry. Now I just look at it a different way. So it's all about perspective, family. It's all about perspective. So y'all be blessed out there and continue to prosper. Hold on.